Hi, my name's Stuart. I'm also known as Felix of Mars, and just to go over stuff again, I've been gaming for about 30 years, and I've been a developer for games such as Roller Coaster Tycoon for about 10 years, and now I'm going to play one of my favourite games. This is actually one of the reasons that I actually became a developer. This game is Earthworm Jim. Now, basically, this came out in 1994, I think, and I actually had a fan site for it for quite a number of years. But basically, yeah, it came out, and I saw it on a show called Bad Influence, which is a UK-based show. Which obviously, Bad Influence is kind of what lots of people thought about games at the time, and probably still do. So that was why they had that name. And basically this game is based by some developers called Shiny that used to haunt a place called Laguna Beach in LA. Actually lots of developers were English and quite a few of them moved over there, but there were quite a number of US developers as well, including the creator, Doug Tentacle, which basically I've been out to see him quite a few times and kind of good friends with him, I'd say. Hopefully, he might not agree. But basically, I made a load of friends out there in the US and kind of hung out with them a bit for a while. I've been back since, but basically, I just want to go through this game and say why I kind of enjoyed it and where the text coming from. Also, there was an Irish developer who was actually the CEO of Shiny, who also worked on this, called David Perry, not to be confused with the guy from Games Master. He's working on some streaming tech which was bought by the PlayStation company. So yeah, that's sort of his claim to fame, was this originally, and he did like to sell it up like it was his idea, but actually it wasn't. But he's still like a decent guy. Again, he sent me stuff for my fan site back in the 2000s. I don't have a website anymore. I've actually decided not to run it in the last couple of years for various reasons. But I still think this is like, yeah, pretty much one of the top games. If I had the top 10 games, this would probably be at number 1 just because it got me into games development. I mean, the year it was released was probably the year before I left school. And I didn't really know what to do, to be honest. I was just clueless basically at that stage. My exam results weren't brilliant. I was thinking about just dropping out and doing nothing. But no, I actually went back and for a short time I did sort of a training course, basically. One of those ones where you learn a trade, but actually when I got there the place was not very helpful, to be honest, and I went into like an area where it was like basically for people they deemed not smart. So that was a bit of a blow, really, and I actually left that place and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back to, I'm going to carry on, I'm going to go to college. So that's kind of the reasoning. It's kind of always held a place for me, because it's like, without this, I probably wouldn't have got courage to like, even bother to get anywhere in life. You know, I wouldn't say I'm doing brilliantly or anything, but I believe that, yeah, certainly without this, I don't think I would have come as far as I probably would have as a person. So, yeah, think about that. If you're just leaving school or whatever, some people or some things definitely push you forwards in life, and this was one of them for me. So let's start it up, shall we? That's actually one of the later levels. So I've got to skip this. Basically, this is on the SNES actually. I bought this for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which is also known as the Super Famicom in US and Japan, I believe. Oh god, I keep missing it. Actually, I want to do something first. I want to do something I kind of felt, I don't know why, I kind of thought, you know, this was cool at the time, finding cheats and stuff. There's actually a cheat that brings up one of the programmers. So yeah, YABBA, YABBA. I got it. I forgot that I had to pause it the first time. So just recut this. So yeah, this is one of the programmers. I think he kept forgetting the cheat code had changed or something. Because yeah, it basically tells you it's the old cheat code, but someone, either himself or the other developers, stuck this in as like a little Easter egg / joke on him. This resets the game actually, so it will actually go back to the main loading screen and have to start again. So that's why I was doing it at the start. Yeah. There we go. So now they said they had like all kinds of tech for this. I think it was called animation tech or something, basically. But yeah, typically in the sort of 90s, and still now, really. I mean, the people just come up with like silly names for like tech that isn't actually really that impressive. But actually, it is actually kind of impressive at the time, because animations for games weren't really this fluid. They all kind of looked really, I wouldn't say robotic, but it was all kind of sprite based, and this, they actually took in single cells like they do in traditional animation and scanned those in, and then took the animation that they had, that they scanned in, and it obviously looks much better hand-drawn stuff than drawing out sprites, which is actually kind of hard work. And you normally can't get it as fluid, to be honest. Let's start. Oh, I've failed already, haven't I? So yeah, this is basically New Junk City, which is probably a reference to New York City. Basically, you're at a junk site, and there's these. If you read through the manual, it gives you a bit of a background. But basically, I think the whole story is something like that Jim's just like a normal earthworm, and then while they're discussing the cartoon series, because there was a cartoon series just briefly after the second game, that was on like Nickelodeon, I think. Basically, that fills in more story. Like, there's a crow that mutilates called Psychro, who's got also a very similar suit. I think it's like yellow. Bright yellow. So basically, he's tasked with delivering it to the Queen, which we also will meet later on. And basically, the suit gets destroyed. I think actually in the images that they used, it's actually like another character called the Major Mucus, which is like a big bit of snot. But basically, it doesn't matter. Basically, the suit falls to Earth. He's changed into a superhero from a normal Earthworm and grows like about 10 times the size or something nonsense like that. And he's able to use a super suit. Oh, and there's another rescuer princess. But I don't think they were actually taking it a bit seriously. They just want to throw everything in it, like all cliches. Again, this is kind of a funny game. I've also done Conker's Bad Fur Day on this channel, so yeah. Basically, this is kind of surreal. It has got some sort of fart joke humour, basically, toilet humour, but not to as great a degree as maybe Conker's. And it's a little bit more humorous without being vile most of the time. So basically I'm going to play now. Now I've been talking for this long. Hopefully I'm actually going to do like a whole playthrough on this because, yeah, it's one of my favourite games. I think it deserves me to play it properly. Now, as I said, this is on the SNES. The SNES didn't have really batteries in to save your progress. The next game did actually have a password system, but this one doesn't, so if I switch off, I'm either going to have to use the cheat codes to skip levels, or I'm going to have to play it while I'm on sitting. Now, I think it takes quite a while. I think it takes about maybe, I'm going to say 8 hours to do everything, but I probably won't do everything because there's like loads of secrets, like you can see one there that I can get to. So I'm going to try and do it a fast playthrough rather than a full, like, grab everything. And I mean, you don't really have to grab everything. You don't need it. It's just that at that time I was kind of a completionist. I still am a little bit, but we just want to see what the game's like, really. So yeah, very fluid animation this time. If I go maybe through some other Super Nintendo games, you'll see what I mean about it not looking as nice as this. So basically, yeah, these guys are a new company called Shiny, part of Virgin Interactive, which I don't think exists anymore, or if it does, it doesn't really deal seriously in games anymore. So basically, I launched a cow there. I actually did it too soon, but I just did my head whip, and that launches like a cow. And these crows like quite a gym. So basically, yeah, I'm not going to get that extra life. I'm just going to carry on. Yeah, I think that they worked on games like Aladdin and things like that, and they had kind of a similar animation system in that actually. So saying it's completely original probably isn't true, but basically, yeah, the new company was formed in Laguna Beach called Shiny. They actually took their name from a song called Shiny Happy People, which is like something that I actually listened to it as a kid. This is the album it was from. But basically they thought, well, that's a cool name, because they kept on listening to the song too. Decided that was going to be that was by REM, by the way. So basically, yeah, they basically just listened to the song and took their game's studio name from that song, which is kind of funny by today's standards. There's probably lots of marketing and people involved to pick a really good, strong name, and they picked Shiny, which really doesn't mean anything to most people. And they had that whole logo with like the sort of, eye being like a torchlight or something like that, which actually changed quite a few times. They did like various textures on it, but originally it was meant to be like a torchlight, like bright shiny light. Yeah, I get it. That's the sort of mentality of these 90s developers, I guess. 90s developers. I mean, it was mid-90s, so as I said, I left school this year. The year that it came out, I was just going to college. And games were quite expensive back then. I mean, to be fair, they're expensive now, but 40 quid then was more expensive than it is now, basically. Worth more anyway. So it was actually quite expensive to buy the ROMs, and I keep fucking this up here. If I can do this, it'll save us lots of time, so that's why I'm trying to do it. This has always been hard, basically. What you're meant to do is, basically it's just a shortcut. If you jump on here, and jump up at the right time, which I keep missing, you can do a head whip, and you can just basically go to like a secret area, it basically teleports you. And in all these years, I've still got it wrong like the first time. It's like the jump over program in the Matrix, Nobody makes it their first time. Nobody makes the head whip for the first time. They probably do, they're probably better than me. Yep, there we go, I got it. So basically, that's the hard part out of the way. Now all we've got to do is get up here. Notice the lens flare in the background. That's actually not present on the Mega Drive version. It was at the same time, and it's something kind of that probably was a big thing then, you know, console wars and everything. The fact that you had like a fake lens flare coming behind the scene wasn't, probably seemed pretty ridiculous now, but that was like a cool feature that SNES had and Mega Drive didn't, or you should definitely buy on the Super Nintendo. So, right, okay, we've got through this. Now this is actually, yeah, the toilet is a wall, and it takes me to like, another area of the map. Woo! Don't want to do this, I'm probably going to mess this up as well. Yeah, okay. But basically that gives you like a load of extra blasters, which are more powerful shots. So now I have to go up this way and up here. Get the extra life, may as well. I could go back all the way, but I'm not going to. I'm going to fight the junkyard boss, which is basically like a mini boss. And he's just made basically trash cans. I believe the name of the dogs that attack you is like Fifi or something. Yeah, don't ask. It's meant to be a cutesy dog, but it's hyper-violent. Right, I've killed the trash can boss. Right, okay, we're moving. It's very cool, apparently. Can you tell it's 90s yet? Very cool. Right, okay. Those little stars that you just saw mean there's a secret. I might try and go back to get it. If I can be bothered. I messed it up. No, I can't be bothered. Basically, you can go back that way and get some more secret stuff. Secrets. We like secrets. I mean, if it was in a game now, you know, you'd have to go get the secrets almost. It wouldn't let you not pick up the secrets, or I'll probably get an achievement for finding those secrets. But there's no such thing. Heck, there's barely like split screen. This only the Super Nintendo only takes like 2 controllers, so you can only have like 2-player split screen. And most games didn't do it, to be honest. I can get up here quickly, or Chuck, the junkyard owner, turns up. Then I can get some extra secrets. Basically, I've got to shoot those boxes at him while avoiding his trombones. I don't know why he's got trombones that he's trying to get rid of in the junkyard, but that's actually an interesting thing I've just thought about. That one thing you've got to like, kind of micromanage is the bullets, because they actually run out when it drops below, I think it is 1,000. Oh, I've messed that up. And then once you completely run out, it actually does fill back up really slowly. Oh, it's probably less than 1,000, maybe it's like 100 or something. I can't remember the exact number now. But that's kind of a bit of micromanagement for your bullets. In the blaster, basically, his gun is just known as the blaster. The red blaster. And basically, yeah, there's that. He's going to do that. See? He shows off his little boxer shorts there with the love hearts on. Now he's got his pocket rocket out, so he's flying to the next level. Now, in between levels, you actually got to have to fight with Psycho. You can also do silly things like this, not by pressing different buttons. Ooh, yeah. And again, 90s. So what I also was going to say is there's also some sort of health regeneration, which you didn't get a lot in those games, the early games. I mean, Halo did it fully and well, I'm not going to say properly, but it did the full like regen system. Whereas this, you still do have lives, so you can still kind of die after you start the game. I'll just beat the Psycho, and this is kind of like a 3D, fake 3D level, where you're trying to beat him in the race. But basically, if you lose X bits of health, I think when you get to your like last 10 hit points or something, I'll leave this apart. You'll actually get health regeneration to a point. You'll actually get some health back. And also, it's kind of a neat system anyway, because it's got all this stuff where you don't have to be actually picking up energy sometimes to receive it. If you kill enemies, you'll actually. I can really beat him now. Just stop messing around. I'm picking up a shield there. Basically, yeah, if you kill enemies, sometimes they'll drop little atom health, I think it was called. Like, you know, 90s and 80s, we were worried about nuclear stuff still, but it was also relevant to us. So yeah, if you look at Simpsons from then, it was all about the nuclear power stations. Basically, they're like nuclear hit points. Basically, kill an enemy and they will float towards you. You wouldn't have to like go and pick them up. I mean, a few other games do this where they have health that kind of attracts towards a character, so they don't have to go and. Oh, well, I've got to continue, which is kind of worms as well. But they sort of get dragged towards you and you instantly pick it up. You don't have to go and walk over to it or walk over it when it's like the tiny little health. The blue ones, not the orange ones, which actually give you quite a lot of health of it. The actual orange ones. Now this is the second level after, you know, the brief chase between levels, I guess. Lots of games had that actually. Sonic had like its between level in terms of like extra, I guess it's mini games between levels. Now this is called What the Heck. This is where Evil the cat lives, and actually Doug invented Evil a long time before he created Earthworm Jim. And there's a couple of like, little comics about it actually. So it might be interesting for you to look at. Actually writes a lot of comics now. He does like one a year, like graphic novels. He didn't until quite a way after Earthworm Jim actually. I think it was about 2000 he started doing his graphic novels. The first one was Gear. I read it and it actually got me into like another series which was Scud, which was actually a different writer. It was Robert Scrap. Let's get his name right. Scrap? I hope I pronounced that right, because it's a very difficult name, basically. I'm going to admit, you've got a difficult name, mate. Oh no, sorry, it's Rob Shrub. But I don't understand how. But, yeah, that's his name. He basically came up with Scud. And that's actually a different game. The comic spawned a game, should I say, which is on the Sega Saturn. There's actually like Scud Tales of the Vending Machine Assassin, which is a good comic. So I think they've... no, he's definitely done like a new book with all of them in, because I remember getting it last time well, actually it was slightly after I last went to the middle of time that I went to the comic convention in San Diego. I actually met him, was really nervous, and I think I would have made it for myself. But yeah, basically, yeah, these guys like, do comics and stuff. It's like you have one interest, and that spawns like a load of other interests. Really cool. So, off I go. Oh, I'm going to get burned by this fire. If you can't guess, this is meant to be based on hell, and there's like, for some reason, black ghosts. I don't know why there's black ghosts with like red eyes. I mean, picked a few blasters there, so I instantly got rid of like the enemies. Oh yeah, these little energies I was talking about earlier. Sometimes they'll come out of enemies, and you can pick them up, and they just float towards you, which is kind of groovy. I'm not going to be able to stop doing that now. So I'm already on the second level actually, and you know, it hasn't taken that long, so... When I said 8 hours, I might have been lying. It felt like longer when you were a kid. Everything felt really long. Everything goes by so fast now. Can I get to this? Oh, I was meant to do it back the other way. And get that health, but I can't. So keep moving, keep moving. We're going to try and get through this thing quite quickly. If I can see, do a speed run. While talking and coming up with the new content. So, so at this point in time, I probably wasn't really interested in the tech behind how all this stuff worked. I mean, afterwards, I obviously researched it for my actual website. My fan site was called Earthworm Jim, the Greatest Soil Munching Annelid, which is basically a reference to worms. That's what type of creature they are. I'm just pausing it just so I could have a break before moving on, just briefly. So, yeah, I stopped working on that though. I had about 50 pages. It had cheats from all the games, it had like loads of information, loads of back history on the game and other games that were similar in the series, like different shiny games and what they went to work on, like Planet Moon and the Neverhood. To be honest, I just got to the point where I'd been at college for ages and I'd left and was working in the biz, and it was too much. Basically, running a fan site, especially if like the franchise is old like this one, it's like really hard work. Oh, this is a snowman boss, so snowman in hell where it's hot, basically. Oh, I'm doing really poorly here. It's better to use your whip against him, to be honest. So yeah, I wasn't really interested in the tech behind it. I mean, when Banjo-Kazooie came out, I was more trying to look at how they've done. I died. I did terrible there. I was just talking too much and thinking about too much. Basically, the game that kind of made me think more about how games were put together was Banjo-Kazooie on the N64, which we'll probably look at another time. I just, thought more about how the various missions were set up, or how they'd done the graphics, how they'd done like alpha channels for like particular bits, how they used polygons. But at that time I was kind of at college and thinking more in that vein of getting into like games. I didn't actually go into like anything that was to do with games straight away. I knew that was the kind of area I wanted to be focused on, so I actually went to talk to like a careers advisor, and they didn't have much info at the time. I mean, this was like, games have been around for about 30, 40 years, but at that time, which was about 15 years ago, they really didn't have much information at the career centre. They really weren't, I wouldn't say they weren't helpful, they just didn't have the info and they went away. I mean, they barely had the internet. I'm not even joking. So they had to go and look away in books, and like what online information they did have was like sparse. So basically, what I did straight away was I was like, well, it's obviously to do with computers. I mean, games are made on computers. So, and I had an interest in computers at the school I was at. I actually spent a lot of time in the computer labs, being a nerd or a geek, or whatever you want to call me, because I was kind of nervous, and I would go into the library, which will lead me to another story, I'm sure. But basically, I got bullied a lot, and I was very nice, but it made me a stronger person, all that crap. But it kind of did, though. I mean, I'm just going to carry on. There is some more stuff up there. Oh no, I've set up evil again. So who's dropping bombs on me? But yeah, at school I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Not only because of the bullying, but also because I just didn't get it. I found it boring and not beneath me, but I just didn't really get why it would be important to learn in general. I also had a bit of a medical condition when I was younger, so I wasn't at school as much as I should have been. I obviously had days I had to just not be in school. I'm feeling better now. Maybe I'll discuss it later, but I don't really want to at the moment. So basically, I kind of left school and thought, oh, computers, that's what I want to do. I went to college. I went to a college called North Links College, which I lived in Lincolnshire at the time. So basically, I was in the middle of nowhere where I was living, and there were probably closer colleges, but the main city was called Lincoln, and there was a college there called North Links College, which now is called Lincoln College, which probably is more sensible in terms of naming. So do this and get some more. No, I can't be bothered. But yeah, you can whip back and get some more stuff. I think actually you've got to go through the top there. Well, yeah, anyway. North Links College was a college I went to, and I learned about IT stuff, basically. So, a bit of programming, mostly like, the first course I went on was like, BTEC, they were General National Vocational Qualifications at the time, or they just changed from the name, which was, NVQs to GNVQs, basically. So it's over the National Vocation Certificate or whatever. It was now the General instead. But basically, it was I did the intermediate. No, yes, the intermediate course first, which was only like a year long. And I met quite a few interesting people there, but to be honest, I didn't 100% get on with anyone there. There was like one girl who I was quite friendly with, but she didn't actually hang around for too long. So as you can imagine, like, you know what college students like. Yeah, the crazy hair. She actually dyed her hair orange. You know, everybody was that kind of punky, bit dirty, grubby. Because unlike school, you didn't. I mean, sixth form, yeah, you didn't have to wear your uniform, but you had to be reasonably smart, I believe. But at college, you could get away with being a bit more grungy, and we certainly were grungy. And that was kind of the, especially the music of the time was a bit more grunge, wasn't it? But yeah, she left, so, actually I did have a friend who was at my previous school, the one before I went to the secondary school that I ended up at, because I moved around quite a lot, and he actually ended up going to the college, but he was actually in the engineering section, which was below. He was actually interested in becoming a car mechanic. It's John. He was, so we kind of hung out together a little bit, but not as much as we did, because he was downstairs. So, yeah, I didn't really have any friends on that course. People I'd say I got on with, but I wouldn't say they were actually my close friends or anything like that. And I kind of, in the first year, did keep that bit to myself. I just went home after being at college all day. I didn't hang out with any of them. I didn't particularly see the need to. I remember like loads of times us going down to like things like Burger King and McDonald's. It was mostly McDonald's in the first year, actually. There's a McDonald's in the main part of Lincoln. It's probably still in the same place, I'm going to guess. I used to go to that one. But we used to hang out there. So that's where I went in the first year. Got very... well, the thing was, I had a bit of a weight problem at the time as well. Only a slight one, not like really huge or anything, but I was obviously overeating because I was like, I guess, stressed or whatever. But in the second year, I actually stayed on. I did it because you need a certain number of points to get into like a uni or whatever. I actually stayed on at the IT course there and did an advanced course. Now, I thought, you know, at the time, because because I was a student now, I thought everybody else would come back as well. You know, I just assumed that, they'll probably come back because they need those extra points. But that didn't actually happen. I think maybe one or two people came back, and they didn't actually stay. I think I actually, on the first day, I remember Craig Meyer, now quite one of my close friends, said that he thought I was an idiot or something because I came in for this advanced course and went, "Hello fans, I'm back." And I was just like, at the time, you know, you were kind of, I didn't really pay attention to like who was around me, I guess. And while, yeah, I wouldn't have said that I got on with anybody in particular. I hoped that they would like recognise me. But of course, everybody pretty much left, and they were like, "Who is this idiot that's just come into our room?" But luckily, I managed to persuade them that I wasn't as much of an idiot as I made out. I'm really having trouble with this. At least it's given me a chance to talk about this stuff. So this is actually quite a difficult bit. So you got to kind of whip in a row, and it's kind of flummoxing me. But basically, yeah, my mate Craig was like, "Yeah, this guy's an idiot." But I made a load of good friends there. Not all of them I keep in contact with, but there's at least two that I still hang out with. Their names are Craig and Rory. And basically, at that time, we'd those guys and us would. Those guys and I, should I say? Sorry, I say that sometimes. Us means I. So you'll have to get used to it if I do that again. So those guys and I hung out, and some other people in the course, quite a lot. I'd go to the house in the summer, and I'd try to get over there on the weekends and stuff. And now Craig, he lived quite a way away. I had to actually get 2 or 3 buses to get to his house, and this was before mobile phones, so I actually had to ring him like ahead, like from my house phone, and say, "Oh, can I come over like the next day?" We had to plan it out. It was kind of, yeah, you wouldn't probably do this now. You'd probably just go, "Oh, I'm coming. Is that okay?" Yeah. But yeah, I had to ring him up the day beforehand or the night beforehand, say, "Can I come over and like play?" And then I had to get 2 buses. I mean, I didn't have any car at that point. I actually still don't have a car, but I'm working on that. And I went over there and hung out at his house. Now, Rory actually lived in Lincoln at the time, so getting to his was a bit easier. I just got the same bus that I went to get to college. Now, there was actually another bus involved, but it was like in town, so it was much more accessible and faster to get to his. It only took me about 20 minutes once I hit town. Yay, I made it! And I just got to not fall down and kill these guys and my 2% health. Oh, really? Yeah, sorry guys, I let you down. But also, my folks did actually, my parents did give me a lift sometimes into town. It was actually my dad, my mum actually can't drive, she has a visual problem, so my dad has to drive everywhere for us. So basically, he would take us in sometimes, and especially in the evenings. I mean, a couple of times I went to each other's house with drinking and recreational stuff, shall we call it. I wouldn't say I was into drugs, but students, and some of them are. I actually didn't partake in any of that stuff. I mean, I could have done, I guess. I'm kind of falling down now. But with my medical issues, I guess I was nervous about doing it, and to be honest, I didn't see the point. We had alcohol. And we had fun, I didn't necessarily need to do anything like that to enjoy myself. I mean, some of them did, and it led to quite funny stories, but I didn't. I remember one time though, this was kind of unfortunate actually. I bought some beers and I was walking in Lincoln and I just left my car. Basically some fuckhead teenagers, probably a bit older than me, stole my beer. And we were all a bit shocked by that. I mean, we're teenagers, it's not what you expect. You don't expect people to be so unkind, but that is the nature of people, I guess we could say. I'm just going to keep moving because I could get out of health, but let's just get on to the next section. So, yeah, basically, obviously I ran back to my parents at the time, and so did my friends, basically. Well, we were just like, horrified. But then we kind of got sorted out, and we went to my friend's house, and we hung out with her in her house, and there was quite a lot of us there. That was kind of fun, you know. We had fun back in those days. Very simple pleasures, I guess. We listened to music like Nirvana and stuff like that. Hung out, talked about stuff. I was very much, and my friend actually was kind of into them as well. In fact, all my friends were into them. The President's United States of America, they're like, it's the 21st year, and they've just released like a new album, which is very cool, so go pick it up. They've actually done it themselves on like a Kickstarter type campaign. So you want to get an idea of what I'm about. So basically what I had to do there was get evil to bomb the weak point and then rescue my suit. Basically I lost my suit temporarily. That happens a few times in this, but very few. It's maybe a metaphor for life, you know. Jim was an anti-hero. He's not had much luck, basically. He's soft and squishy. It's kind of probably why I got on with it a bit. But basically, yeah. Good times. Having some drink, learning about the world, learning how the world works. This was sort of like 1998, I think. And I made like loads of friends, and in fact, we were talking about getting into games we were all kind of interested in at the time. We hung out and played games at each other's houses quite often. And we found a course at Teesside in the end, and we went up there. I've kind of probably mentioned it a bit in my other videos. But it was kind of a chavvy city at the time, you know. People that were in tracksuit bottoms started on you for like 50p or something like ridiculous, you know. Yeah, they probably had a hard life and all this, but again, you know, is it any way to treat other people? So yeah, anyway, the course at Teesside was specifically about TV and film, but had modules that actually were about games development. And actually the first course I went on was HNC, so I think it was HNC, I believe, which is like a diploma that's not... I'm getting nailed here. I have to be very careful. Basically, like you get bachelor certificates. This is like one before it. Now, they were saying that it was kind of equivalent, to be honest. And I did that for like 2 years, and it was actually on programming rather than anything creative. So it was about more matrices, graphical maths, like how to render a spline, how to render like patches and things like this. I can barely remember any of the maths behind it, but I would say, I've only got to hit one more time. Yeah, done it. So I would say that I can program, but I'm not a programmer, and mostly because I at school I really didn't get maths, and I still don't. I get it a bit better now, but yeah, I did that for like these 2 years. There was actually some other work that it wasn't all maths. There was actually some creative work like sketching, using Photoshop, and some basic 3D. And we did some like 3D animation and stuff like that. But we didn't really do games design still. We did a bit of post-production, which is like once you filmed a movie, basically, when you're adding stuff that's not necessarily 3D. In fact, I don't think it really 3D is so kind of separate art in itself now. Post-production is like putting effects over the top of sort of stuff. But you could say 3D. Yeah, 3D is still used in post-production, but not necessarily exclusively. It's more like putting on 2D special effects, depth of field stuff, things like that, or superimposing people on green screen or on other environments, making the film look better, basically. Colour correction, stuff like that. But basically, yeah, that wasn't really specifically to do with games, and I found it hard anyway. The stuff wasn't creative. I would say that I'm great creative stuff either, but I prefer it. I enjoy it more. And I still didn't really know what I was doing, because eventually I went into design. The kind of reason that I did that was because I got to my actual bachelor's certificate. I've got BA, which is Bachelor of Arts. Actually, some of my friends that were on the course unfortunately either didn't make it through the HND even. I think they just found it too much hard work. There's always dropouts, especially in college. There were like loads and loads of people dropping out. I could get punched here. But actually, Rory was on the course with me. Craig actually stayed up in Lincoln and did like another programming course there, but actually didn't enjoy it either. And he actually ended up coming up with us to Teesside after about a year. But anyway, Rory did have trouble with it, and for whatever reason, I don't necessarily think that he wasn't interested in games still, but because of obviously he had a hard time with it, he went actually to do graphic design, and he actually has become a really big expert in that, more than me. But that was kind of a bit sad for me, because obviously I'd lost at least one friend on that course that I knew I could kind of rely on. So we still hung out. We really did hang out a load still at uni. But I did make some more friends on that course. Okay, so much now. I made a really big error there. Oh no! I didn't realise the other one was coming. I've only got one life left, so I might have to restart at some point. I might just cheat to it though. I know bad form, but I don't really want to replay this. There you go. That's a bit worrying in this section. Only one, okay. I think he must have glitched out when he came too far. So yeah, I was kind of a bit on my own again when I went on to the degree, and had to kind of make a bunch of new friends. And in fact, the degree had like a load more people on it. Like the H&D was like a handful of us, like maybe 20 to 30 people. Whereas the degree had like about 100, but we weren't on the same course. Sorry, timings for the course. We had different timings. So, oh god, I've turned into another one, haven't I? I think maybe they respawn. So yeah, I didn't always hang out with the same group of people. So having specific friends in a particular module was harder, but I did have a few that I kind of hung out with in the pub and stuff. Oh, this is really hard, right? Okay, I've got to keep my wits about me here. Oh, no. Keep going. I believe the best thing to do here is to... I think I might have actually missed like the first one. Oh no, this is like an early one, so okay. I'm through. Yeah, so basically I did have a few friends. We did had like a little group that I did hang out with quite a few times. But basically, it was harder, and it was good that I had people that I knew from elsewhere that I could just drop in on. The student lifestyle is like, you know, because everybody's in the same town or wherever, you tend to like end up at random people's houses or friends, you know, quite often. You just dropped in on them, and they normally were there because, you know, lazy students and all that. Oh, is this the next section? So, yeah, on that course, it was more about, I think I might miss this one. Is this the area? I might have to look at no, I've got it. Oh, but I've completely mashed up this submarine already. Be really careful. No, I'm going to fail. Yes, basically, we just hung out, turned up at people's houses, and about this time I was. This course was actually more games. That's what I was going to say. More games influenced, I'd say. They'd picked up on that people actually wanted to develop games. And I think it was actually in part of the module anyway. And I tried to pick all the modules that were more games orientated. I mean, it was impossible to fully pick game stuff. There was still like quite a lot of film parts, but there was actually a new course that they started, a new Bachelor of Arts course that was games design only. But they said that they wanted to make me start from the first year instead of going to the second year, which I could on the course that I ended up on. I don't understand that, how they worked that out. I think it was a bit stupid of them. But I couldn't argue at the time. I probably did try. But basically, yeah, I tried to pick all the modules that was nabbed from the games design course anyway. Divine Games Design course, and basically, yeah, picking my own modules to help facilitate that, and those were more stuff like how to texture games level, how to model a games level, things like that. We did this mostly in Max, and in fact, before Max, on the previous year's courses, we were using Silicon Graphics machines, SGO2s, which are like blue Hoovers basically, which are Linux based, I believe, Sun Microsystems and all that jazz. And they were meant to be really good, but they were really, really rubbish at it because stuff moves on so fast. So basically, yeah, on this course we got to use proper PCs with decent processors and 3D Studio Max, which was still quite an early version of Max, Max version 3. Basically, we could have completely failed. Do I have to restart now? Oh, I might have a can of worms, yes. That's so lucky. So basically we modelled in Max, and I learned about modelling, texturing in Softimage first on the SGOs, but we actually used Max for like all the games related stuff that I did, so it wasn't the film or pre-production stuff. And I don't reasonable amount of it. I'll say that now and again I kind of dabble. But at that point I was like, well, I can see that I've now had experience of like programming and art. That's not necessarily good if you want to go into a particular discipline. And I mean, I wouldn't say that it's good for design either, but at the time I was just like, well, what do I do? I was kind of interested in games like Unreal Tournament come out, and I did quite a lot of modding for it, and I realised that, you know, I could be like a level designer, and that would be cool. or a games designer. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So what I did for my final dissertation, I had some other modules as well that was just sort of film and post-production based, but my final dissertation was actually making a game, kind of. There was actually a module previous to this that had been games design and writing documentation, basically, like the previous year. But we actually had a problem with the course tutor in that. Course tutors, well, some of them are great, some of them are really awful. I'm going to say that now. And this guy was really awful. He really didn't know his job, and we did an amazing design document. Basically, we did everything properly. We had information on how the levels were going to be laid out. We created our own movie of because we couldn't get hold of. It wasn't the time for it. We couldn't get hold of the games engine. I mean, you got engine. You couldn't just get Unity and build something in that. We would have had to work really hard to get a prototype out. And at the time, anyway, those game studios just provided just like video demos of how the game would look if they created it, basically. So we made one of those, which was on one of the levels. This was for like, a racing game based on with like little bugs, and I was kind of the lead in that. I wouldn't say that I was the leader, but they trusted me enough to let me I would say boss them about that was unfair, but basically lead the discussions and put everything together, make sure the demo got done. I think I actually did most of the demo scene stuff, make sure the documentation was done. There was like a guy who really knew his stuff on audio, so he wrote like a load of stuff about how the audio should work, something called psychoacoustics, that make it sound like the audio was coming from various directions when it was actually only on when there was no surround sound, basically, so only like basic speakers. And that was kind of really nice to have in a module. But basically, yeah, the guy leading the module didn't know anything about games development, really. I think he might have actually been a programmer, was just taking the module and scored everybody, in fact, really poorly, and we actually had to go through disciplinary with him to get a decent grade. So that wasn't the best thing that could have happened to us. But it was also good in terms of, like, we kind of, I think I can escape looking through here, actually, can't I? Right, you can fix out. No, we can't. Jeez, I'm going to die again. I have to concentrate on this bit again. The submarine parts are really horrendous in this. The hardest bit. We fought for our belief, kind of, that we had done like a good job, and this guy marked everybody inadequately. And I think it was good that I did that, because then when I did my final year dissertation, the actual tutor I got he was actually quite good. He actually had worked for on a game called Shadow Man for Acclaim UK, which was Iguana beforehand. He knew his stuff, and he actually taught me my Max sessions as well, basically. So the tutorials, he went through all that with me. So basically, I had him write my dissertation. He let me make a proper game design document on my own, which I'm going to say now I built more than I could chew, because obviously I said again I'd make like a prototype or whatever, and I didn't make the prototype. I'd said that I built some art assets, and I agreed to some art assets, and then about halfway through I had to say no, I can't build that much art. It's like a proper game, really. You promised the Earth and you couldn't deliver on it, and then you have to kind of schedule what you have to remove. I also had to write a document that was my dissertation, which was my actual games design document. and the game was actually quite funny. Because I'd played games like Earthworm Jim, Giants and stuff like that, I actually made a game where you were gnomes, and each gnome had like different abilities. Like, one was actually not a gnome. I think he was a elf, and he basically didn't fit in. He was like lanky, like Luigi, and he'd been bumped on the head or something, and now he was convinced that he was like one of them. And of course, they were kind of saying, "Well, no, you're not," and all this. That was the kind of comedy element of that. Or can I make it? Can I make it? Oh, yeah, it was Scheme 4. There we go. Yeah, so basically he had a concussion and he was convinced, I don't know if I can get past this any other way, but be hurt. It's so annoying, that bit. It's very stupid. But yeah, there were various other different types of gnomes. One was like a pyromaniac, but he had obviously some sort of psychotic episode, and he wore like basically a pink onesie, I guess, with pink overalls with like bunny ears, and his name was Bert, I believe. And yeah, he was an actual gnome, but he was a bit nuts, and he was sort of, his expertise was like burning stuff, and then basically, yeah, the tall guy was able to like, pitch the other gnomes higher and get them through gaps higher, and basically you could switch between characters and use each one to kind of, I got too close, to kind of navigate through the level, I'd say, levels, and the level that I built was like a treehouse level. I didn't really get it finished, but neither here nor there. I tried, basically. I tried, and I think the lecturer knew that I tried my best, and I kind of had maybe bitten off a bit more than I could chew, and did be a reasonable grade for it, even though it wasn't complete. To the degree that I wanted it anyway. It was finished, but not to the degree that I wanted it. But basically, yeah, it was kind of a bit like this, and a bit like things like Giants, where, especially Giants, because Giants had 5 characters in as well. The ultimate comedy number, apparently. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I kind of believe it is. But yeah, that's what it was kind of based off. Just filling up to 100% here, I think. Now I've got to make it through this whole area without getting too beaten up, but it is kind of long. And while there are hidden air pockets, I believe, it's really harsh. Even getting to the hidden air pockets. But yeah, when I got through that, I eventually left uni, and this was about the time the GameCube and N64 came out. Well, the N64 actually came out during college, sorry, what am I talking about? It was about the time the GameCube that we left. So, yeah, that's kind of a rough history of like all my life between that point, really. I'm trying to say you can do it too, sort of thing. Oh, I thought there was going to be extra. I apologise, that's just an extra health thing, but it kind of probably has helped me because I was really low. Can move it now though. And then yeah, I left and for a bit struggled to find a job, and eventually went to work. And yeah, which made Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, and then stayed there for quite a while. Had some various issues and had to leave, and then went to another developer for a small amount of time, and now gone to my current job, and that's where I am now. I suppose I need a different topic, really. I'm going to probably die here, though. I've not got to like the second airport yet. I think it's just around here. Well, let's think about something else to talk about. Right, let's talk about the game a bit more. Now I've talked about my motivations and where I came from and why I enjoy this game so much and why I got to where I was. So let's talk a bit more about the developers, I guess. So, as I said, I kind of met up with... Oh, did I go completely the wrong way there? I should have gone off and I went back along the tunnel. I'm really confused. Oh, I was meant to go this way. I'm an idiot. I got to fill right over there. So yeah, talking about the developers. So let's think. For ages, I just probably I kind of harassed them during my college years. Unfortunately, I'm very sorry, guys. And I believe her name was Miss M. I'm not exactly sure her real name, but hopefully she'll be watching. I'm sorry for sending you all those emails. So yeah, eventually, after talking to these people for like yonks, not really having, I guess, that much to do with them, they actually did get quite pally with me. I did end up going out to like a comic convention in 2006 to see Doug, and I went out the following year, and I went out again recently. But yeah, I mean that's kind of interesting because, you know, when I was growing up, as I said, there was no like mobile phones. There was no real internet at this time. This was about the time the internet was really taking off. I didn't even have a PC that was connected to the internet until college. So, in fact, it was college the first time I used the net. I was like, wow, I should get on this. People weren't as connected as they were, and going to these places like the US was really interesting. I mean, where were we in the UK? I mean, in the 90s and the 80s, we were kind of always a little bit behind, about 6 months in terms of our video and stuff, and people have like anime stuff. Hi, so that's our sort of first hour done with. I was just discussing a bit about how we got things slightly delayed in the UK about 6 months after they came out in the US and Japan, maybe even later than that. We're going to carry on that conversation in the second video, which you can skip to right now, and thanks for watching.